special guest here. We have Mark Kent, who is the Director of GM Motorsports Competition. So it's a big role. This weekend he'll be overlooking Corvette racing and Cadillac racing. Talk about his role, this new thing called the C8R, and he'll introduce the rest of the Corvette racing team. So I'll pass it off to Mark.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to beautiful sunny Daytona, and I hear it's going to stay that way throughout the weekend. So we're excited to be here, and we're glad you're here with us as well. It's probably getting a little late to say Happy New Year, but I'm going to say it anyhow because we sure have a lot that is new this year. The amazing new C8 on the street, the amazing new C8R on the racetrack, new color schemes, new drivers, and also new, right here, are 30 more spots for 30 more of you to park your Corvettes. So we welcome this larger group, and we hope we put on a great show for you this weekend. I also have the privilege of overseeing the Cadillac racing program as well. So in addition to watching the new C8Rs around the track this weekend, make sure to keep an eye on the Cadillac prototypes and cheer them on for a win, as you will with the Corvettes. So while there's a whole bunch of things new this year, there's one thing that remains constant, an individual that's remained constant through the entire Corvette racing program, and that is Doug Fehan. So it's my pleasure. To welcome Doug, and Doug will tell you more about all the exciting stuff going on this weekend. Thank you, and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, bud. Always nice to kind of have your boss here. We've worked together for a long time. Back when I started at GM in 1988, Mark had just come on board as first or second year under her guidance. That any better? All right. I don't know if we can turn this up or not. Maddie's working on that right now. She's our technician. Ready? Okay. Is that better? Now we're talking. Good. As Mark mentioned, and he really needs to take more credit for this than he did, but for years you guys have asked for more space here, and you know how we're just landlocked by the amount of real estate that they'll give us. And Mark's group worked very hard this year, convincing them how important Corvette was, how important C8 was going to be, blah blah blah, and was able to negotiate those extra spots. And I'm really proud of the effort that they put forward for that. So give them a big round of applause. That's a big deal. And it's kind of prideful for us as well, realizing that we're appreciated by the sanctioning body. You guys have unquestionably the loudest voice in all of IMSA, and they know that. So persistence overcomes resistance, and we managed to get that done. So it's great to see we've got a larger tent here as well. I don't think Mr. Dangler's here yet. Does anybody know John Dangler? John owns the company that provides all this at every place we go. All our display facilities, our hospitality stuff, John does. I've known John from a long time back when we were both at another automotive company. And he does just a marvelous job of providing this for us. So when you see him, he'll be here tomorrow. Look him up and thank him for his efforts, because he works very hard. He's very proud of what we do, and he's very proud of what he does, and we owe him a great debt of thanks. So we're kicking off a new year, 2020. Those of you that might have been paying attention know we have 2 new race cars. Anybody seen those on the track yet? I can tell you that the team has worked tirelessly over the last several years in developing this vehicle. And to start with, I think it's important to point out, for all the times, we talk about technology transfer. We talk about what we learn in racing, going back into production, building better cars for you. I think that this C8 really epitomizes the level of effort over the years that we've put forward. The engineering group at the race team has worked hand in glove from a clean sheet of paper This is the first time that it's ever been accomplished at this level. So what you're going to be able to buy in the coming months is going to be as close to a race car as you could ever have purchased. The engineering that has gone in, the trading, the group of race car engineers embedded with the production car engineers have really produced what I think is unquestionably the greatest Corvette ever. I mean, not only has Tom Peters and Kirk Benyon and the design team put something together that is just outstanding from a visual concept, but Tadge's group has put together an engineering example that I think has the whole world just jaw-dropping. I can tell you my contemporaries at the other companies, that being Audi and Porsche and Ferrari, are speechless. They have no idea how we accomplished what we accomplished working together like this. Not only just the collaboration, which is so hard to do. It seems simple, but it's not easy when you have a huge engineering machine like a Ferrari or a Porsche or an Audi. You can't get the race group to interact like we're able to get it to interact on Corvette. And the fact that we've produced what we've produced, and especially at the price point at which we're producing it, they're speechless. They have no idea how we accomplished that, and they know what's going to happen. They know that their market share is going to drop, that we're going to be attracting an entire new legion of customer, and that is what we set out to do. And I think the task at this point certainly has been very, very fruitful. I know in talking to the people that have ordered cars, one of the big things we've done, we only have to look in a mirror and figure out where most of us are from an age perspective. The idea was to try and find younger buyers, to attract younger buyers, to lose that stigma of Corvette being an old man car. And we've done that. We've done that. When you look at what the orders are in and talking to the dealers, we're appealing to a much younger age group as well as our current customer base. And I think the technology that's gone into this car, the design, the style, the quality of the interior. Has anybody had the opportunity to sit in any of these? I'm sure most of you have done that already. I mean, the same company that does the cut and sew on Ferrari is doing the cut and sew on Corvette. So there is no, we have given up nothing. No longer are you going to hear, oh yeah, it's like great bang for the buck, a lot of performance, but it's got that cheesy. Those days are gone. Those days are gone, and our competition knows it. Tadge's group has just crossed every T, dotted every I, and producing what is now just unquestionably the world's finest sports car. How many have orders in place? All right, I do as well. I have no reluctance at all at being an early adapter. I'm buying the first one I can get. All right, because I know the level of work that's gone into producing this thing. They're going to be great cars. And I think most of you, just as C7 took a while to infiltrate, you only have to look out there and see how many are there now. C8 is going to be, you are not going to be any happier than you've ever been with what the C8 is going to provide you with. It's just a great vehicle, and it makes a pretty damn fine race car as well. With that, let's go on. We'll do our usual Q&A. I think you guys enjoy that the most. I get a kick out of it as well. We can talk about anything that's gone on in the past, what we're doing right now, and anything that's going to happen in the future. And if I don't have a really good answer, you know I can make one up. You won't know the difference. So, yes ma'am.
I've been reading Nigel's book, and the first time I see anything mentioned that sounds like a BOP was a 2005 price handicap. Was there anything like that in 99, 24, 2004?
The question is, reading Nigel's book, which is a great book. How many people have read through that, looked at it anyway? If you haven't, it's the Bible. You need to get it. If you're a Corvette racing fan, you need to own this, or you should be ashamed of yourselves. Plus, I'm getting 10% of the profit. So, the question is, when did BOP start? Early on, there was no mention of any BOP, and early on, there wasn't any BOP. Early on, you had a graph, a very simple graph, and it put weight and displacement. So if you weighed this much, you could run this big a motor, all right? And it had a turbo scale and a naturally aspirated scale. And so it was kind of run what you brung. And it was pretty clear to see in those days what happened. Yeah, we beat everybody's butt and they all left. All right, so they needed to come up with something, okay, that would level the playing field between the Corvette and the rest of the racing world, and hence the BOP, which by the way, and you've heard me say this before, is a necessary evil. You really need to have it, all right? In order to take different configurations, what was front engine, mid-engine, rear engine, turbo motors, naturally aspirated, 5.5 liter, 4 liter, 3.6 liter, you can't take all those platforms and have them compete equally. You can have them all out there competing, but one's going to rise to the top, and it's going to be, guess who? Us. And then no one else is going to come and race. So you need to equalize this. You need to have a little bit of socialism. You need to take away from the guys who got it and give it to the guys who don't. And that's what BOP does. Now, it is a lot of science that goes into it, and then there's just a lot of visual stuff as well. Clearly, each team has technical people that are capable of looking at how the rules are written and try and take advantage of them for their own self-gain. And we do that same thing. You have to be able to maximize the rules to your advantage, which then results in a number of people looking at what they can do. You know, are they sandbagging? Are they going as fast as they can go? That's just part of the racing game. That's how it works. That's the business we're in. The level of technology that the data gathering that they have today is pretty sophisticated. So it's pretty hard to cheat the system. In most cases, they're going to know what you're doing, or what you think you're doing, or what you think you're trying to do. So we go out there, we run as hard as we can run each time. You know, we looked at qualifying yesterday, which we were pleased with. We were pleased. We had a medium tire that we went out on for a number of different reasons, which took a little bit of speed away from us, but we knew that was going to happen, but we needed to get the data on that medium tire, and that's what we did. I don't know what the other guys were running. I don't know what Porsche was running. I think they're going to be the fastest and most powerful cars here. I think they'll be our chief competition, but I think everybody's going to be in the hunt. I think it's going to be pretty darn close, lap for lap. You only have to look at the last few of these things, and it's come down to kind of like the last lap. You know, you have to pay attention. You got to be there at the end. That was the early. You're spot on with when BOP came in. It's when we reconstructed the series and a bunch of different cars wanted to compete. Next question. Yes, sir.
I'll be the idiot to ask. Can you tell us anything specifically about the engine, who's building it, where?
Can we tell you anything specific about the engine, who's building it, and where? GM Powertrain builds the engine. As been reported, it's a flat plane crank, dual overhead cam, 5.5 liter displacement. It's a new piece for us. Jim has a remarkable amount of experience in overhead cam engines. If you remember the Aurora and the North Star, you know, we're all overhead cam motors, and it's for in the world of internal combustion engines, the move to overhead cam provides you with the opportunity to put smaller valves in the engine because you can have more of them. Okay. Now the reason that that's a requirement is because for scientific purposes, for scientific reasons, it's easier to control emissions in a multi-valve motor than it is in a big 2-valve motor, because you can get more complete combustion because the way that the cylinder head can be shaped with the little tiny valves rather than the big valves in it. So it's kind of for lack of a better term, it's kind of a greening of internal combustion engines to go to multi-valves. And so that's why when you look at a lot of our smaller production motors, our overhead cam motors with multi-valves in them, we're getting better fuel economy with it, and we're being a little bit greener with it. So we're pretty happy with it. Obviously, it's a learning curve for us. And for you guys, it makes a completely different sound, which is surprising when you think it's still naturally aspirated, so the turbos aren't sucking up any noise. It's still 5.5 liters, so it's still the same amount of stuff going on inside the motor. It's that flat plane crank that causes that motor to sound so differently, just the firing order of the cylinders. So that's something we're all going to have to get used to. I know I actually have to look around now and see when the car comes by rather than just hearing it go around. So after spending a lifetime listening to that ground pounding American Thunder, it's a drastic change from what we once had. But it's the new era. We're ushering in a new time. We're ushering in new levels of performance. I've embraced it. It was a little difficult for me at first, but I've come to embrace it because that is what it's going to be. We're not going back. Next question. Yes, sir.
How long have you been working on the C8 as far as the race car?
It has been probably from the very first inception and conceptual discussions, probably almost 5 years. For sure 4. I'd have to go back and look at the actual dates, but it's been a long time. It's been a long time, and that's a good thing, because we had input early on into what we needed, and we weren't having to force that hand. We didn't have to force them to listen to us. They came to us and said, "Where do we need to go? What do we need to do?" And that's a wonderful set of circumstances in which to build a road car, when you've got road car engineers that want to know how to build a race car, because that's what we've done.
Second question, what color C8?
What color C8 did I order? I ordered a torch red, okay, with natural interior, and I got the whatever the 2 series seat is, the trim level, whatever they call those trim levels. 2LT, yeah, that's what I got. 2LT natural. You bet. Yes. I did not get the Z51 package for any number of reasons, not the least of which, I live in a world of wings and spoilers, and probably the last thing I want to see when I walk out of my garage is a wing and a spoiler. And I love just the sleek simplicity of that car without the wing on the back. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of wings and spoilers. I mean, it's pretty cool stuff, all right? But I just like that plain, simple, clean look that they've achieved with the car before we put that stuff on there. So, and I couldn't get the Z51 performance stuff with a wing delete. They don't do that. If you get the Z51, you got to take the wing. So I opted just for and I always like to be a little different. Imagine that. Yeah. So that's what I got, and I'm pretty geeked about it.
Snow tires coming with it?
Well, we won that battle, guys. How many of you just heard me railing on all-season tires? I mean, I couldn't believe we were building a car to sell to people that had a tire on it that you couldn't use if it got below 50 degrees outside. I mean, come on. I want to drive this thing, all right? I was just, and you can ask Harlan, I was relentless on this. And I was relentless on the Michelin people as well, who understood where I was coming from. And Harlan had legitimate points. He said, look, what happens is if we build this car with an all-season tire on it, okay, they're going to take that car and test it, and it's not going to test as well as the car that tests with a high-performance tire on it. So we don't want to do that because we don't want to get kicked around in the buff books. I said, well, then offer it as an option. Give people an option to do it. Well, we're still worried about the performance level, so then where does that take you? That takes you back to Michelin. So we go to our boy Lee. I said, Lee, what's up with this? He says, I can fix that. I can handle that. So they developed an all-season tire that, from a pure performance standpoint, takes you within a couple clicks of what the high-performance tire is. I mean, for most everybody in this room, unless you're an expert tracker, all right, you're not going to know the difference. And the reality of it is you can use the car all 4 seasons. And that's going to be the standard tire on the C8. So that's one for us, all right? We didn't give up on that battle, and now we're giving you something. I mean, if you lived here, well, except for early this week, doesn't really make a difference. But when you live in the rest of the United States, it makes a difference. It goes below 50 degrees. I drive my car all year long. So I'm very, very pleased with the fact that we've been able to do that and provide you guys with something that's going to not give you any degrade in performance and is going to provide you the opportunity of driving that thing for 12 months out of the year. Yes, sir? Is the car still direct injected? Yes, it is. Yep, absolutely. You betcha. Yep. It's a great little motor. Yes, sir. Is there a reason we didn't go with a new yellow on the car? I can tell you that car color this year, as you know, has changed, okay? And I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. Okay. We got question? Yes.
So you're taking a chassis to Coda Day this year in February. Is it the same chassis? What do you think about Coda?
What do we think about Coda? Have we? I guess did we announce we were going to Coda? So I guess it's okay to. So I guess it's okay. We did. So it's okay to talk about that. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, like I wouldn't have talked about it anyway. At any rate, we are taking a single car to the COTA event, which is I think February 20th through 22nd, somewhere in that neighborhood, to compete in the WEC race. We're pretty pumped about that, all right? And it will be a C8, and it will be a third chassis, okay? So the two chassis we race here will still stay in our mix, because we go right after that, we got to go to Sebring, which is another two-car event for us here. So we'll keep those two cars, and then we'll have that separate car for WEC. You bet. You bet. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to answer this next question, but go ahead.
Why don't Mercedes, Audi, Acura,
Lamborghini,
why don't they go
McLaren. Why don't they what?
racing GT11?
What would you? Did everybody hear the question? Why aren't all those other guys in GTLM?
Awesome.
Well, because they're just scared. They know what it takes to compete at this level, first of all. They know the engineering commitment. They know the level of professionalism that's required. They know the economics that are involved. And most importantly, they understand the global exposure, okay? So they can compete with their little buddies running around in GTD. They can do that just fine. And it almost doesn't matter what happens there, okay? So if they finish 7th and 8th every single race, it doesn't really matter. They're selling their cars, they're making a couple bucks, they're happy. You compete in GTLM, guess what? That's news. Now you're in the bigs. And if you can't compete successfully there, that doesn't bode well for your sales and marketing program. That's why they don't do it. It takes a lot of commitment to get it done, and they know what the exposure is, and they're not willing to take that risk. Hopefully, we may have one or two more companies that decide to come in, help replace Ford, and we'll see what's going on there. But I think there's a chance that we're going to see at least one of them decide they're going to move on up to the big leagues and see what happens in the real world of racing, not just club racing. So. Yes, sir. How much different is the racing transmission from the street car? They are completely different. All right. The street car is a dual clutch automatic paddle shift transmission, which is wildly good. When you guys, I'm not sure anybody in here has driven to see it. I can tell you, it is an amazing transmission. Amazing transmission. You're gonna love it. The gearbox in the race car is actually a manual transmission, all right, although it's shifted automatically. And by that I mean it has an electric pneumatic switching device on it that when the driver hits the paddle, it physically engages the gear. It's a single clutch, as you would know in any old style clutched car. So, and it's, if you get a chance and you're over in the garage, you might want to take a peek in there. We work directly with X-Track, who builds race-specific transmissions. The transmissions that is in the Corvette is expressly for the Corvette. They worked with our Pratt & Miller group to design and develop this thing, It is a tiny little package. When I look at it compared to the transmissions that they developed for us early on in the program, my God, I'm not exaggerating, it's half the size. Half the size, and obviously half the weight. And the performance level, durability and reliability is still there. So it's an amazing piece. But there is no similarity between the two. Two completely different items. Two completely different items. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Can you speak to why Ford dropped out and what that's going to mean for the class? We wind up with a GT1 kind of.
The question is, can we talk a little bit about why Ford might have left the series, and then essentially what the future of the series might be? Are we going to go back to a GT1 situation where everybody quits racing? It's a very, very complex issue, the second half of that question. The first half of the issue was, when Ford put this thing together, they had a goal, they had an objective, to go and create a marketing issue that brought attention to their engineering expertise, build a carbon tub race car that they were going to sell to people as a street car, and go win the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And they essentially accomplished that. But in doing so, I can tell you internally that the program, there was nobody inside Ford that was ambivalent about the Ford GT program. You either loved it or you hated it. And this is at the executive level at Ford. Because it took a lot of money to do. It was very expensive, wildly expensive. Those are all marketing dollars that other groups wanted that were now going racing. And every company faces the same dilemma. But the program was initially set just for a couple of years because they thought they could build the allotment of streetcars that they sold in that time frame. I think as of today, they're committed to whatever it is, 1,350 or 1,500 vehicles to owners on the street. That was their commitment. They're at about number 600 today. So they're a long ways off from filling that commitment. I'm not at all certain, and this is all conjecture on my part, I'm not at all certain that that's a money-making proposition for them. I mean, I've been in this business all my life. Selling those cars for $450,000 a piece, I'm not sure they're making any money on it, and I'm not sure they're not having to underwrite them. But they're committed to following through and filling each one of those orders to those people who have been in line for years now. All right, what's it been, 4 years? They've been waiting. They still don't have it, and they're not halfway to the goal. That's a problem that they've had to deal with. And again, from an economic standpoint, this is not a money-making deal. So the original Ford program, I think, was only going to go 3. I think they stretched it to 4 to run. So it was just one of those deals where it wasn't, they had gotten what they needed out of it, and it wasn't providing them any additional marketing advantage. At least that's how they felt. It wasn't worth what it was costing them to do, and so they stopped. It's unfortunate. Ford has a great name in racing. We loved having them as a competitor. They make everything better for everybody when they're here competing. So it was sad. I was sad when they announced they were going to go. And I know that that the group that was racing the car made every effort to try and find some outside dollars to help drive the program. And Chip was unsuccessful in doing that. So as far as the future goes, these things have a way of fixing themselves, okay? You can lay out what you think is the best plan, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But let's look at the GT1 thing as a model, all right? The GT1 thing started in 1997 when Porsche was going crazy building GT1 cars that were essentially prototype cars. Sanctioning body got mad, said, okay, we're just going to start a prototype class, and then this will be our GT1 class. That's when we got involved in the racing thing. So we raced the GT1 thing, we won everything, we put it essentially out of business. So what happened? There was no more GT1 class. Well, what did we do? Well, we built a GT2 car. And then we went racing in GT2, and then GT2 morphed into GT Le Mans and GTE. I mean, that wasn't a plan. No one laid that out 3 years ahead of time. It was just something that evolved. It was just a natural flow of things, the ebb and flow in this business, which I've been through 100 different times, okay? And we're on the potential precipice of that, okay? What's going to happen to GTLM? What's going to happen at Le Mans? Are we going to develop a universal GT class and then divide that class up by power and aero into what's going on. I mean, ideally, the perfect solution, if you could just snap your fingers and make it happen, would to build, everybody builds one GT car. So you go get the McLaren and the Lambo and everybody else who's out, the Lexus, and that's the car. And our car becomes our car. And then you divide that, everybody builds the same car all the time. So you've got the economy of scale of doing that. And then you just change the power levels, all right, and the aero levels, and you can create different classes from that. And then you have more or less a universal racing formula where I can take my car, I can race here, I can go to California, I can go to South America, I can run to Asia, I can use the same car every place. We have one common set of rules on a global basis. I think that's kind of where we're going to end up going. You don't need to have a plan to do that. It'd be great if you did, but you don't need to. It'll naturally morph into that. So I don't have huge concerns about what we're going to do from a racing perspective, because there'll always be a place to race. And we'll always adapt to whatever that place is, just like we did in GT1, GT2. So I have great confidence in the series here. Like I said, I think there's another manufacturer going to be coming along. You know, Le Mans plays a huge role. There's a press conference going on right now, I think it's today, that's going to announce a further collaboration between the guys in Europe and the guys here in America, the ACO and the IMSA group, all right, as it deals with Daytona prototypes, which is a great first step, because what's the next logical thing they're going to be working on? Well, we'll create some kind of order in the GT class. So these things have a way of just kind of self-repairing, all right? I'm not concerned about it. I mean, I think about it, I offer my opinion about it, I have discussions about it, but I'm not losing a lot of sleep over it, because I know we'll find a way. I know we'll find a solution to whatever problem comes up. So I think this sport from a fan perspective has never been bigger. And we are on an upward growth. When you look at motorsports in general, it's flat or declining except for road racing. Road racing is on the way up, all right? And I think it has a lot of product relevance to it. I think it displays modern levels of technology, and I think those are attractive to younger people, and younger people are what causes growth. We're not going to grow among ourselves, okay? We're just the natural attrition, okay? One good thing, we're never going to run out of old people, all right? We're always going to have plenty of them, okay? But the idea is, if you're trying to grow something, is to try and get a little bit lower in that age demo and get people involved. And that's what this sport, road racing, is doing right now. And it's pretty cool how it's working. So I'm excited about it. I see a hand way in the back. Or was that just somebody waving at somebody trying to get a date? Yes? No? Question? Hand still waving, no question. Yes?
During the GT1 days, Aston Martin was really competitive. It was Corvette's way competitive. But they went GTD and Corvette went GTLM. Why do you think they went GTD?
Question is, back in the day, Aston Martin was a huge competitor, okay? And they went GTD and we went GTLM. But they still do GTLM in Europe. We still race against them at Le Mans. They still have a GTLM program. Over there at GTE, but they still compete against us at Le Mans. So they have both. Aston is an unusual company. I don't know where, Aston is on the verge of going out of business every 20 minutes, okay? I don't know, they don't sell very many cars, they don't make very many cars, they seem to have money to spend, so they've got large investors that are spending money. They're kind of an anomaly to me. I don't know how they think or what they do, because they're talking about building a hypercar for Le Mans, you know, that's hundreds of millions of dollars to affect. I have no idea what they're doing, but they're still competing in WEC in the pro class. So they're still there. They're still pretty serious competition, as we witnessed the last couple of years. Yes, sir. Yes. C8R is going to go to Le Mans. Yep. Sure as I'm standing here, God willing. That doesn't mean something's not going to change, but I'm telling you, we're going. Yes. You can't have a Le Mans without Corvette. They know that. Our drivers here? They're coming. So's Christmas. You need it? You need it? You need it. Wes needs the microphone. Oh, but there's a question back there. At the roar I said I might share some information about the rumored C9. That's right, I might.
Some of you know who I am. I'm Wes Long. I'm on the board of the National Corvette Museum, and we're actually having our board meeting up at the Experience. And I used the excuse that I needed to be with Doug to get out of that meeting. So thank you, Doug, for allowing that. What I really wanted to do is thank Mike and Todd. Todd, raise your hand, buddy. I don't see it. They are responsible, Bryce, for getting us the extra tickets for the museum. And they worked hard to get the bigger tent, to get more spaces. So thank you, GM, for doing that. And hopefully we'll continue down this path of expansion.
Yeah, no problem. So thank you. Thank everybody for being here.
And the other thing I like to do, you know, I will be talking on Sunday. Doug will be busy, so he's never around when I thank him. But if you follow Corvette racing at the museum, you know how instrumental GM and Doug have been in bringing that to the museum. He volunteers to do the dinner at the Bash. He helps us at Hershey. And so from the board, I want to thank Doug and GM for all their support, and just give Doug and Todd a big hand.
Speaking of Hershey, come on up here. Speaking of Hershey, we're October
23rd and 24th.
October 23rd, 24th. How many have been to Hershey? Is it a great event? Are you going again? Bring a neighbor.
I just want to put a plug in. I don't know if you talked about the displays that we have around the track here today. So you have to come over to what we call the Chevrolet Experience Center. Do you know what that is? You've been here, right? So it's right next to the Winner's Circle. So you see the big Daytona tower, right? Winner's Circle is there. There's a building on the other side of it. It looks kind of like a Chevy dealership. It's basically Corvette Central. We have 5 C8s on display. We have Serve 1. We've got all kinds of displays and other things for you to take a look at. Cars listed. We've got the Cutaway there, thank you. So you got to come over there and see what you have on order. 'Cause how many people have a car on order? All right, not bad. We've got some people that'll help the others that are still thinking about it. So anyway, yeah, it's open now. It's open all weekend, so come see us. And again, just to reiterate, thank you guys so much for just being fans and supporting Corvette and Corvette racing all these years. We're here for you. You know, we worked hard with the track here to expand this. I know we've been trying to do this for years, and you know, they sell out this entire infield. I think you guys probably know that, but if you want to get a camping spot here, good luck. It'll never happen. So we have to compete with land with these guys, but we pushed them pretty hard to move the tent configuration around a little bit, and at least got us a few extra spots, which we hope to continue from here on out. So anyway, thanks for being here. Appreciate all your support.
Thank you, Todd. Todd and Michael are another example of teamwork. You know, this isn't a one-man show. We can't do any of this without a team that you really never see. And Todd heads that up, marketing department. We've worked together since I've been at GM practically. He does a marvelous job in bringing forward all things. Todd, are any of those cars able to be sat in? 2 of them, which is important. Head up there, 2 cars you can sit in, touch, feel, sniff, you know, roll in, roll out, whatever you got to do to make it happen. Yes, sir. Do we have any product specialists there to talk about the stuff on the car?
Yes, we do, and Mr. Harlan Charles will be around here tomorrow and Sunday.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do have product specialists there. Harlan will be here as well. You know, so there'll be somebody there to hopefully answer your questions. If not, come see me and you know I'll make something up. Do we have drivers here? They're on their way, aren't they? All right. Are they ready? Usually they come right in. We got some new guys. We'll do some introductions when they get here. All right. What the hell is going on up here? Honest to God. All right. here's our lineup. Yeah, I'm going to start down at this end. A familiar face. One of our American guys, okay? One of our American guys right now. He's not alone anymore, all right? Hailing from Virginia, the guy who gets it done, Tommy Miller. Next to him, the guy that has more victories in a Corvette race car than any human being has ever achieved before or will ever achieve after, Oliver Gavin. Of course, you can't do that without being the oldest guy on the team. Yeah, just something to think about. And next to him, a very familiar face, a guy who is coming, and you know he fills that third seat better than anybody on the planet, okay? And we can't hold it against him. He's from Switzerland, which kind of is in the middle of everything, all right? They don't take the blame for anything. They try and fix everything. They do a great job. Marcel Fossler. New face. Stand up, Nikki. All right? There's a brand new face that we haven't seen before. Nikki Katzberg. All right? A number of years ago, as you recall, we did a little deal with Jacques Leconte over at Le Mans, and he had a Corvette. We were working with him. He ran in the amateur class, all right, GTM, and he brought in Nikki, okay, obviously younger than he is now, of course, all right, hadn't been to Le Mans, had never been in a Corvette, went out and set fast time of the entire amateur group, all right, everybody at Le Mans. That caught our eye. So when we had an opportunity to bring him along to fill in that third spot, we did. Nikki's going to be here for his first time. He's also going to be with us at Sebring. He's going to be with us at Petit, I think. He's face of the future. This is a great, great young man. We're happy to have him. Nikki, thank you. The next guy needs no introduction, all right? He's been in the Corvette as much as almost anybody outside the major guys, okay? He's been with us at Le Mans for 100 times, all right? He's got a Le Mans victory with us, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. He couldn't stay away. He told his old man, forget you, I'm going real racing, okay? He's going with the real racers. Jordan Taylor, thank you, Pard. And then, last but not least, Chatty Cathy, all right? Exactly. I haven't had a chance, I'm not trying to be funny, I haven't had a chance to really talk with him in the last few weeks, okay? And not because he's not Chatty Cathy. He's found some place in Spain where he hangs out where there like is no internet and phone service, okay? Where he can go and just kind of hide out with his family. It's worked out real well, so I was happy when I saw him show up. Antonio Garcia. This is a pretty good group of guys, I can tell you that. It takes a whole lot to be a Corvette racer. And when we look at guys like Marcel and Nikki and Jordan coming back, it's a learning experience for Nick because he's not seen any of this before. He doesn't realize that when you get behind the wheel of a Corvette, you're not just a race car driver, you're suddenly elevated to superstar status, okay? So he's kind of drinking from a fire hose and being part of this. But it wasn't without us looking at his history, checking him out as an individual, finding out what his personality was, and seeing that he wasn't a good fit, not just from a performance standpoint, but from being part of what our family is. And so I want you to all welcome him. Welcome back, Jordan. We got the autograph line started. We're going to have a great race. Thank you again for your support. We couldn't do it without you.